Great afternoon, beautiful people. Great evening, great evening, great evening. We are so excited to be back with another episode of Boss Moves. We are kicking this baby right on off this evening again. So excited tonight to be talking about one of my things that I am so very passionate about. We are talking about tonight personal culture. We are talking about personal culture. So great evening, beautiful people. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. We hope that each and every one of you on this timeline at this time, or whether you are listening to us in the near future, we hope that all is well in your world. We hope that all is well in your world. We know, at least for right now, it is because you are joining us live. So great evening. Go ahead. You guys know what to do. Drop a great evening. Drop a hello. We are so very excited to have you guys on with us tonight. We are excited to have the opportunity to have yet one more live Boss Moves. And you guys know, again, drop a great evening. Tell us where you're joining us from. We're so excited to have you. And while you're dropping those great evenings, listen, I want to share. It's very important that we train our brains to find the good stuff and share the good stuff, right? And I just want to say so many of you guys have been so extremely supportive over the last 2 weeks with me and my family as we have gone through surgeries with my sister. And y'all, I got to tell you, today I left the hospital, and just a few days ago, literally, after she had some swelling on her brain, she couldn't talk, she couldn't move, she couldn't do any of those things. Can I tell y'all today? Listen to me. She is talking. She is moving. Matter of fact, she was sitting up straight today, telling me and fussing at me about why I didn't buy her a dress like what I have on. So, y'all, we have so many things. God is good. Prayers work. And we have so much to be grateful for. And we need to get in the mind frame of not getting zoned in so much on what's not going well, right? Because it is truly uh, mass distraction. Like it's the enemy of, we talk about mass destruction. It's mass distraction. So we've got to train ourselves. What is going well? So come on, y'all, drop it on in there for me. One more person, tell me. What's the praise break? Go ahead and drop it. Praise break. We didn't start with our normal video today. We're just jumping right on in. You guys know what to do. Hit the like button. Hit the share button, because we are all trying to help each other evolve and elevate tonight. But in the meantime, go ahead, drop me one. So also, what's in your cup? What are you guys drinking tonight? What are you drinking? Amen to that. It's a beautiful thing to celebrate birthdays. Life is worth celebrating. Please tell your mother, dear, we said happy birthday. Then she should two-step on the way out to this September. Keep partying, right? What's another praise break in your world, folks? Listen, people ask me all the time. People are always, listen, I am still steeping. I'm almost done steeping my tea. I'm a loose leaf tea drinker. And tonight I am drinking one of my favorite from Sipsy. All right, Sipsy Tea, who is a small Black-owned business here in the state of Mississippi. My favorite from her is A Time to Tea. It's a mix of peppermint and lemon, and it is awesome. You should get you some. Here we go. We're going to get this party started. Go ahead, do me a favor, do yourself a favor. Like the video, share the video, and go ahead and drop in there. We're ready to make boss moves, because that is exactly what we are about to do. And you guys know we are here for a good time, not a long time. So buckle up and let's get the party started. So tonight we're talking about personal culture. So even before we get started jumping into the tips, let's think that through. When we think personal culture, what comes to mind, right? We often talk about an organizational culture. We talk about school culture. We talk about culture so much outside of our being. But tonight, I want to talk about the personal culture that you carry with you everywhere you go. Lately, I've been doing so much training in the corporate world around branding, right? Brand management, brand awareness, right? How do you build a personal brand? And we can talk about that another week, because this personal culture piece is the foundation for your personal brand, for your professional brand. So let's lean into it. Talking about culture, your personal culture, it's about what are your values? What are your beliefs and how are they driving your behavior? Because we're always talking about, let me change the school, let me change the classroom, let me change my business, let me change the community. But we first got to start with ourselves. The personal culture that we are cultivating and creating is going to dictate how quick and how fast, right? How massively impactful we can be with changing the culture outside of ourselves. So it's critically important that we start there. What is personal culture? Personal culture is, what do you believe? What are your values? And how are those personal values driving, dictating your behaviors? We're even with the personal culture, we're talking about how do you handle conflict resolution within yourself? We're talking about how do you work within yourself if things aren't going well, your social emotional learning. We're talking about your emotional quotient, right? We always talk about a person's IQ. We got to start talking about your EQ. What's your emotional quotient, your emotional intelligence? And so tonight we're going to go on a quick run, 4 tips, right, on how to help you really pump up, boost up your personal culture so that when you step outside of your door, you can make impact on whatever organization, whatever business, whatever classroom you walk into, right? Because you are working so much on your energy, right, that you can have greater influence, because that is what absolutely it is all about. So now that we talked about what is personal culture, here we go. Tip 1, and I need you to go ahead and drop it in the chat for me. To change the fruit, pull the root. Right, here we go. To change the fruit, pull the root. So Friday morning, you guys know I do my meditation walk. Sometimes I'm on full-blown exercise mode in the morning when I'm walking or jogging. And other mornings, it's legit, I am walking for the purpose of slowing my mind and connecting with God, connecting with my creator, right? I was on a meditation walk Friday morning, and I woke up with this in my mind and my heart and my spirit, and it's been with me, right? We've got to look at, what are we individually producing? What's the fruit that we are creating based on our behaviors, right? And we've got to look at, if I am creating anxiety and anger around me, so many times we will focus on, like, we'll pull the just the fruit, right? We'll just pull the apple off of the tree. But guess what's going to happen next season, y'all? Drop it in the chat. If I'm not happy with the fruit, but I'm only just pulling that, what's going to happen next season? I pulled it down this season, right? I didn't like those apples. Matter of fact, I want orange. So let me pull all the apples off the tree. What is going to happen next season? Drop it in there for me. What's going to happen next season if I don't like the fruit, but I'm only pulling? I don't even like the tree, but I'm just going to pull the apple and expect oranges, right? I gotta dig deep. I gotta go all the way to the root. I've got to pull that thing up. And so what I'm saying to you is, too many times we are not happy with things that are going on around us. We're not happy with the behaviors within ourselves that we openly display, but we'll just try to treat the symptom. Okay, we'll treat the symptom. Right? You've had a headache for 30 straight days. This is another example. You've had a headache 30 straight days, but you only just keep taking a Tylenol a day, and it's like, okay, that's gonna be fine. Sis, brother, you've had the same headache for 30 days. That means there's something deeper going on. We got to get to the root of the thing, right? And so it's critically important that, as we're talking about pumping up our personal culture, we've got to dig deep and acknowledge, what are the things that are going well in my world, but then what are the things that are around me that I am creating that I don't like? I've got to first acknowledge before I can adjust. Y'all drop that in the chat. I've got to acknowledge the thing before I can adjust it. Okay. Acknowledge to adjust. That's the first thing. And then we're talking about, can I be honest? There are so many times in our life where, we just get so bogged down with the wrong things. We get bogged down with the wrong things. So it's very important that we take the time to acknowledge and then adjust. Something else, y'all. We oftentimes will forget that I got to trace the thing to replace it, right? So we talk about creating healthy habits, but can I be honest? I've got some habits that I need to get rid of before I can replace. I got to acknowledge what the habit is, right? So again, you guys know this is always a simple when we're talking health, right? I got a bad habit of drinking Mountain Dews when I get stressed, right? If I acknowledge that that is a bad habit, or I feel stressed, grab Mountain Dew. I need to acknowledge that what first, what's my stressor? But then, y'all, if, instead of me grabbing the Mountain Dew, I need a replacement drink. So every time, instead of the Mountain Dew, I need to train my, okay, no Mountain Dew. Maybe you can get a little lemonade versus the Mountain Dew, right? So again, acknowledge and adjust, and then trace before we replace. So that's the first thing when we're talking about the first tip, which is changing the fruit, pull the root. But we've got to get to the root of issues that are going on with us instead of just, again, putting lipstick on the pig and calling it something pretty. No, it's still a pig, baby. All right, still a pig. So again, getting to the root of the thing. Tip 2. Again, make sure that you've liked and shared the video. Tip 2 is to activate the power of silence. When you are working on strengthening your being, let me say that again. When you are trying to work on strengthening your being, it requires an energy that you need to manage, right? That you need to manage. So many times we spend too much of our good energy talking. Drop it in the chat for me. Am I talking too much? Dropped it in the chat. Am I talking too much? We're talking about your evolution. We're talking about your elevation. Drop it in the chat. Am I talking too much? What is powerfully true, and I don't care if you are a religious being or if you just want to take it from the standpoint of science, wherever, there is so much power in the early morning silence, right? So much will come to you if you will learn to sit in silence. It's critically important. I talk about that so much in the first part of the framework of Boss Moves. We've got to learn to guard our hearts and our minds, but be able to sit in silence with ourselves. That is critically important. And again, you got to ask yourself, am I talking too much? And listen, as you begin to evolve, as you begin to grow, listen, you guys remember the saying, it wasn't the saying, the song, the lyrics, this revolution will not be televised, right? It was speaking to the fact that you can't just be a bystander if we want change to happen. And so as we're talking about your personal culture, time by itself is not going to fix that thing, right? So many times you will hear, oh, it'll get better with time. Actually, no, sis. Actually, no, brother. If you are not intentionally doing the right things during that time, we won't be stagnant. You're going to either move forward or you're going to move backwards, right? But I'm talking about in the middle of that, you've got to learn there is so much power in your silence. Every bark doesn't require a response from you. Every tree blowing doesn't require you to say, hey, what is that? No, you've got to reserve your good energy if you're talking about building your strength for your inner being, right? So again, activating the power of silence will help you tremendously. Ask yourself, does this really require me to open my mouth? Or is this an opportunity for me to sit in silence? Again, every action does not require a response from you. Every action, every word, every conversation, every prompt does not require you when we're talking about building our personal culture, because you've got to learn to reflect, pause, and reflect. You can give a pause before you respond, but again, that power of the silence, you've got to truly learn. It's okay for me to say nothing in this moment because I want to reflect. I'm trying to strengthen up my response. I'm trying to strengthen up my ability to remain in purpose. I'm trying to strengthen up my ability to not allow people to catch me slipping. Okay. So we've got to learn to activate the power and understand it's just a beautiful space when you can learn it's okay for me to remain silent. It's okay for me to sit in reflection and just be quiet. It's okay. Many of us struggle with sitting in silence because we really don't like ourselves. Let me take a sip on this, okay? Many of us struggle to, you'll hear some people say, oh my God, how in the world can you go sit out on the beach by yourself? Or, oh my goodness, how in the world do you go out to lunch by yourself? I could never, right? And so some of that is just a preference. But can I tell you, a lot of times we've not learned how to sit in who we are because we don't like it. Like you're not living up to who you are supposed to be. And so we struggle to sit in that. But again, there's power in, again, going back to the first tip that I know, we've got to acknowledge and then adjust. We've got to trace what the thing is before we can replace it. So it's critically important that we think that silence can be your best friend. In silence, you will hear things that you won't hear in the middle of a crowd, my dear. Again, it's okay. Y'all drop that in the chat. It's okay for me to be quiet. It's okay for me to be quiet. It's absolute. Matter of fact, your evolution will require that you learn again in the boss framework. The first piece of that B, the ball, you got to learn how to sit in silence to again reflect on who you are and who you are becoming. Okay, who are you? Matter of fact, drop that in the chat. Who am I becoming? Because that's what it's about. It's not even about who are you today. It's about this journey of evolution. You know what? Because tomorrow I can show up a better version of myself, or I can show up a lesser version of myself. I get the choice every single day, right? I get the choice every single day. Here we go. Tip 3. Check the nurture and the nature. So y'all know I got background in psychology, and so many times in the world of education, especially for our younger babies, we'll talk about, in school settings. Well, is this a product, even in society, our behaviors that we're seeing, or even down to genetic, like, is what we are seeing a product of genetics and nature, or is it a product of the conditions that we're putting ourselves in? And so what I want to say to you today is, as you're working on strengthening your personal culture, as you're working on becoming a better version of yourself, as you're coming to evolve and elevate, you need to be intentional. Hear me out. You need to be intentional about not only what you are putting in your physical and your spiritual and your emotional being, but you need to be intentional about where you are allowing your physical, spiritual, and emotional being to be. Let me say that again. The nature piece and the nurture piece. What are you putting in? That's the nurture piece, right? What are you putting in? But then what environments are you allowing yourself to sit in? And I'm going to be quiet for a minute. What environment are you putting or allowing yourself to be in? And you've got to ask yourself, are these environments, as I'm working on becoming, as I am working on becoming a better version of myself, a more resilient, a more positive, a more focused version of myself, am I putting physically myself in places that are going to pull that lesser version of who I am? Am I putting myself in places and positions that are going to, require so much energy that I'm not left with what I need to elevate? Again, y'all drop that in the chat. Where am I allowing myself to be? Who are you gracing your presence with? Right? Everybody in every place. You listen, you are too much of a gift to be there. Let me say that again. You are too much of a gift to be there. And if you're trying to elevate, if you are trying to make greater impact, if you are working on strengthening your being, you've got to guard your heart, you've got to guard your head, and you've got to even guard your physical being, right? So it's critically important that you are thinking through the nature and the nurture. The nature piece, what am I putting in? Like, where am I allowing myself to be? The nurture piece, like, what am I, the whole thing, what am I eating? And then where am I putting myself in places to be fed? So it's critically important that we are keeping, again, that in mind as well. So again, tip 1 was to change the fruit. We got to pull the root. We've got to be real, and we've got to stop just fixing, right, the symptoms. We've got to dig deep and see if you are always angry, why? Why are you always angry, right? If you are always finding yourself in the seat of offense, we got to dig. Why is that? Dig deep, right? If we want to change the fruit, we've got to pull the root. And then tip 2 was activating the power of silence. It's okay to be quiet. It's okay to learn to sit in silence and just listen, to zone in, right? To visualize yourself being the better version of yourself. You can only do that in silence, right? Tip 3, we just talked about looking at the nurture and the nature. Nature, where are you, right? Where are you putting yourself physically, and what are you taking in is critically important. And then tip 4, understanding the urgency of now. How many times will we say, oh my goodness, time really is just flew by so fast. It's flown by, it's gone. Right? My baby is 11, and I promise you, it feels like yesterday I had his 1-year-old party. And he's 11. He's about to be 12. Right? So in hindsight, we can see that time moves fast. However, moving forward, oftentimes we will act as if we have so much time on our hands, when in our actuality, y'all, it's moving fast. It's moving fast, right? Think about this. And so what happens, for example, if we're talking about changing behaviors, let's say, and it's always easy to understand the health piece. Let's say you are working on, eating healthier, right? I'm working on eating no fried foods. I had a slip up today. I had some fried chicken today. Let's just say I had some fried chicken today. What would we say? Drop it in the comments. If we know, okay, I said this was my week to start eating cleaner, no fried foods. I slipped up and had fried, and you didn't slip up. There was an intentional choice. Now we're gonna talk because we're real. We're being friends. That was intentional. You ate that chicken. You pulled over in KFC and you ordered the number 2. You did it. Right? But let's say you did. Okay, you had the chicken. What does normal behavior, what do we typically do as human beings? And this is all of us. You ate the chicken once. What do you find yourself doing? Oh, I ate the chicken. You know what? I probably can go ahead and eat the rest of it. I'll start tomorrow. I'll start eating cleaner tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes, for breakfast, somebody had a fried piece of whatever, pork chop, right? Some fried pork chops and grits for breakfast, right? And you know what? Well, I did have the chicken yesterday. I'll start tomorrow. And then when you look up, before you know it, tomorrow has become next month. And then next month has come next year. And y'all, can I tell you, a whole decade will be passed by, and you will be keep staying. You will keep finding yourself saying, I'm going to stop eating fried foods. And so I want us to understand the urgency of now. Don't keep thinking, if I want to become a better version of myself, it's going to naturally happen if I'm alive. No, it's not. That is not the truth, right? We've got to be intentional with our behaviors. We've got to be intentional with becoming. Drop that in the chat. I've got to be intentional in becoming. If you want to become the best version and the next best elevated version of yourself, you've got to be intentional with that thing. And so much of that speaks to, what are you doing right now? No, my friend, no, my sister, my brother, my kings and my queens, you cannot do everything in one day. No, Rome was not built in a day. But can I tell you, they were working on that thing daily till they got it done. Let me say it again. We've got to keep working at the thing, right? And remember, the river cuts through the rock not by its might. Because so many times for example, you're going on a trip, and you've known you're going on a trip for like 6 months. But you will wait until 6 days before the trip to start trying to, oh my God, I'm not going to eat. Oh my goodness, I'm going to go to the gym for 5 hours a day. You knew 6 months, but you want to wait to 6. No, this whole concept, we don't cut through, the river doesn't cut through the rock, not by its might. Sometimes we'll just not do a thing and then go so hard and expect to see results. No, you got to be consistent. It cuts through the rock by its consistency, right? So we've got to become consistent in becoming, consistent in intentionally choosing the things that are going to lead us to the next best version of ourselves, right? So don't wait till tomorrow. As a matter of fact, when you get off, it's something that you can do between now and the time that you go to bed that's going to help you become the next best version of yourself for when you wake up in the morning. So it's critically important that we understand the time is now. Drop that in the chat for me. The time is now. The time is now. Y'all know the S, the B stands for being bold, optimistic, spontaneous, and substantial. Y'all know what that substantial speaks to. It speaks to the fact that, one day we won't be anymore. And it's all about, what legacy are you leaving? Are you leaving people, places better than you found it? And so that only happens if, again, you are daily working on yourself. And again, not to add, it has to be a balance, right? It has to be a balance. Nobody's saying beat yourself up, but I am saying, sis, get up. I am saying, my brother, pick yourself up 1 inch, one day at a time, and move forward. Because again, the time is now for you to do just that. Again, I want to go back through these one more time because tonight I just wanted to give you just again a few little tips to help you along your way as you're talking about building up your personal culture so you can live your best life. You really can. And it's a fallacy to think that only certain people can live well. It's an untruth to think that, my past is so messed up that I can't live the type of future. That is not the truth. You can live your best life, and you've just got to start again working on your personal culture because Myron Golden, he speaks to this piece of being, doing, having, right? If you be a little, you will do a little. You'll do a little, you'll have a little. But if you work on your being, and y'all in chapter, let me see, this is in part 1, I talk about the depths of your being. The depths, like hashtag there are layers to you. Hashtag there are layers to you, right? And so as we work on understand that, sis, you are amazing. You have so much greatness in you if you would only wake up and see it and activate it, right? But the more you understand in your being that you are royalty, that you're a queen, that you have the ability to have massive impact, massive influence, the more you understand that in your being, you'll do more. And as you do more, you will start to have more of what it is that you envision as being your best life. So, but again, we got to start today. So again, that was change the fruit, pull the root, activate the power of silence, checking the nurture and the nature, and then understanding the urgency of now. You guys know the class. So I'm always going to ask, what's your one takeaway from tonight? What is the one thing that, this week I'm going to lean into that? I don't ever suggest you take everything. I always suggest, even in my trainings, because research has shown us we take too much stuff and then we do nothing with it because it's information overload, right? What's your one takeaway from tonight? Go ahead and drop it in the chat for me. And even while you're dropping that, make sure even now that you've liked this video, that you've shared it, you sent it to somebody for them to watch. Because again, as we elevate, it's critically important that we help others do the same, right? There is so much space all around for us starting now. Absolutely. The time is now. Absolutely. It's critically important that we understand it's okay. Tomorrow's gone. But right now we can hit the reset button and we can move forward. You guys are always so amazing. It's always my pleasure to spend just a little time. Last thing, drop it in the chat for me. I'm making boss moves this week. Don't forget to like, follow, share the page with the friends. Oh, and for my friends in Copiah County, we have just a few more seats left. We're so excited to present again our 5th annual Girl Empowerment event. I do not take it lightly, the platform that I have. I do not take it lightly, my purpose. And so any chance I get, I'm trying to help elevate our young people because, again, y'all, that's where I'm a teacher. I am a teacher, and so it's critically important that I'm always doing my due diligence to help the whole child, all right, not just academically. And so at this event, Brunch and Blush, we're so excited to present. We're talking etiquette, we're talking conflict resolution, which we know right now in our society, our young children need so much more of that, right? So if you're in the Copiah County area, and last year, we had girls from Crystal Springs, Hazelhurst, Jackson, Madison, Brookhaven. We had girls from all around. And so we're so excited to welcome them again with open arms. Again, if you know someone in the area, go ahead and click that, drop it. And then this is the other thing, y'all. Everything from our time tonight came out of my book, y'all, and the book is hot. Again, we have sold more than 2,000 copies of this book, which is mind-blowing for me. Okay, it is mind-blowing for me. And those of you that are in the new publisher space, new author space, that is a big deal. But everything we talked about tonight came out of this book. And I know some people think, well, I'm not an educator, but so much of this has to do with your personal culture. We can create change in others when we first learn to create it in ourselves, right? And so if for some reason you've not grabbed your copy of Boss Moves, the book, let me drop that in there too, because you can order yours today and have it in your hands this week to start on your journey. Again, I love you guys. I mean that. I mean it. If nobody's told you, I love you, I see you. And guess what? I'm expected to see your evolution. Y'all go make boss moves this week. It's been great to see you guys. I'll see you guys soon. We'll see you guys. Thank you. She said the book is so awesome. Get it now. Thank you. Listen, y'all go make some boss moves this week. Be boss.